My path now for a visual.
American 472, Washington Tower, 1 star, 32017.
So you hear somebody in the tower go, oh, and they see what just happened. As you can see in your screen here, the collision took place. The tower has seen it happen in real time. They're human beings. They're reacting just like you and I would. The helicopter ran into the CRJ. The CRJ's airspace was their airspace.
I got to tell you guys about my store, the TatumStore.com. Many of you guys have gone on and ordered I don't know how much stuff. I mean, we literally got probably 18,000 5-star reviews. But I want to tell you about these new products. You can put in code WE120 and get 20% off your entire order. I'm only doing this for my people on the YouTube channel, so I appreciate you. I love you, and I want to make sure y'all always have a discount. Inauguration Day is an incredible historical shirt. You can get it. This is one of my favorites. It's not in black like the rest of my products always are. You guys told us you want different colors, so different colors we've given you. All right, let's go down here. We got other inaugural shirts, but this is one that people have been just falling in love with, and that is the Trump metal shirt. So it's a little rocker shirt with Trump. I hope you can see it here. It's a little rocker shirt with Trump on an eagle, the most fire shirt that you're going to see. So TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com. Get your merch, WE120 to get 20% off. And do not forget to check out Candace Owens' store as well. So click on there. You can get some Candace Owens product because we work with Candace to get her stuff fulfilled as well. So make sure you visit TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com. Welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I hope y'all having an incredible Friday. We got a few things that we want to talk about. One is that I found a video of a pilot. Someone from Instagram suggested that I listen to this pilot. He's an experienced guy. He has a YouTube channel. I forget his YouTube channel now, but we'll pull him up in a minute. And he gives a articulated synopsis of what he think happened as a former pilot. He may still even be piloting, but he gives a synopsis of what he think happened in the crash because I can't get over it. Every time I think about it, every time I look at it, there's new footage from CNN that has come out. And you can see it a lot closer, and it's just completely suspicious. I mean, everybody knows, and I'm anxious to hear, because we both are going to hear for the first time. I'm anxious to hear what the gentleman has to say, because most of the aircraft, fly at about 200 feet, and this one's at 400 feet, and end up colliding directly with the aircraft. And it seemed like at some point they should have seen each other. Obviously, the Black Hawk helicopter could maneuver better than an airliner, traveling at 200 miles per hour almost. And so it's all very suspicious. And also we're going to talk about the fact that conservatives especially need to be mindful that it's not always expedient for you to go viral. At some point, you have to make sure that you verify the things that you put out. People have been saying that the pilot of one of the aircrafts was a transgender. First and foremost, it doesn't matter if the person is a transgender or not. Who cares? And second of all, the person wasn't even on the plane, but people were spreading that lie. Let's pull up the YouTube video. Shelly sends this to me, and it's Captain, I think it's Stevie, Captain Stevie. All right, roll the clip.
Here's what happened last night. I'm able to secure the actual audio from the incident over the Potomac last night. Let's listen in together.
789, contact Belmarsh, good day.
Okay.
American 130, for the final.
You're going to see a back and forth now between Reagan Tower and the various aircraft that they have lined up on approach into the airport. This happened at about 8:46 p.m. Last evening, and you can see there's several airplanes lined up. That's typical coming in about that time of night at Reagan. They're talking to American Airlines 3130. Which I think is number 2 for the runway. They're telling them to slow down to their final approach speed because they're separating everybody on the way in. It's going to turn out that American 3130 is a key player in what happens here.
Well, American 3130. Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge is CRJ.
Pat 25 is the helicopter that ran into the CRJ 700. It was a PSA flight. The flight number is 5342. It would go under the call sign Blue Streak 5342. You don't ever hear them talking to tower. They've already been cleared to land on runway 33. So they would come in on an approach on runway 1, and then they would kind of circle the land on runway 33. It's a little shorter runway, but they take some of the regional jets and they put them on that runway. Pat 25 is the Black Hawk helicopter that is just south of the Woodrow Bridge, and they've just taken off. They're airborne. The tower is saying to them, there's traffic. It's a CRJ. It's at 1,200 feet, lined up for runway 33. Do you have that traffic? Pat 25 is going to call back and say yes.
It's 1,200 feet, start runway 33.
Pat 25 says, has the traffic in sight, request visual separation. What that means is that they're going to take responsibility for visual separation from that aircraft. What happened? Here's what I think happened. This is not the final word on it, but what I think happened was it was at night. There's several airplanes lined up. There is that Blue Streak 5342, which is a CRJ that they ran into. Right behind them, just a few miles, is American 3130. Everybody has their lights on as they're coming in. I believe the helicopter looked at the American 3130 and said, I've got the traffic in sight, and they never saw the airplane, the CRJ that was right next to them. That's my conjecture on what happens.
Visual separation. This separation proof. American 1630 tower, runway 1 lock void, traffic direct start runway 33, dispatch 16 off funnel.
So this is typical stuff that's going on a busy airport. They're lining somebody up to take off. They're saying, pay attention. I'm going to give you an immediate takeoff here. I've got traffic lining up for runway 33. That's the CRJ that got ran into. And he's on a 6-mile final. It might be somebody even behind him, but they're lining everybody up to take off into land.
Runway 1. Whiskey 5307. Keep rolling out to November 47 today.
You can see at the bottom of your screen there, the CRJ, the Blue Streak 5342. They're beginning to now kind of come out a little bit to line up the runway to land on runway 33. They're not going to go right straight down the river. They got to come out a little bit wider and come in. But remember, Pat 25, which is up here, the helicopter at the middle of your screen, they've already said we accept responsibility for visual separation.
American 1630 1 star 32014, Duck 25, traffic 2 mile up base runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate
Clears
takeoff.
American to take off.
Clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Here it comes.
CRJ in sight.
Now the tower is seeing what's happening, and they're saying, do you have the CRJ in sight? Because you guys are getting kind of close. And the Pat 25, the helicopter, says once again, yeah, and I'm asking for visual separation. Okay, the responsibility is on you then.
Hold on. Right before they crash. I hope that, I wonder, are you guys catching all of this that's going on? So the map that he's looking at is potentially something similar to what the air traffic controllers are seeing. They can see this, they see patterns, they know where everybody's at. So don't get it confused to think that they're out there guessing and they're looking out the window at the planes. They got a thing that they're looking at where they can see where aircrafts are going, which one coming in, which one coming out. And they control everything in the air. They can tell the airplane to slow down. You're landing too fast, you got to slow up. You're landing way too hot on the runway. If like I was on an emergency landing flight, which was scary as I don't know what, they ended up flying out and circling in the desert and didn't tell us for 45 minutes. I knew something was wrong because I fly all the time. And they're going left turns only for 40 minutes straight. And I didn't know if it was an equipment thing. I didn't know if the landing gear wouldn't come out. I didn't know what it was. I just was hoping that it wasn't going to crash. And I had 40 minutes to ponder over it and pray and ask for forgiveness before it. And what happened was, because I watched guys like him, not him, but I watched other guys like him, and they had to burn off fuel. They didn't tell us that, but I know from watching these guys that they had to burn off fuel because they needed to go back to Arizona and land. And so you land with a plane that heavy, they got to put you on the longest runway, and you're going to run right off the runway and kill everybody, because it's supposed to have enough fuel and weight that you could travel all the way to Florida, which was where I was going. And then by the time we get to Florida, it's a little bit lighter. So anyway, this is what he's describing as air traffic control is telling the chopper or the Black Hawk that, do you have visual? Because they see that this is looking close. The Black Hawk pilot is saying, I have visual. So now, to me, it's going from a thought process of thinking that it was possibly air traffic control to now the Apache helicopter. And I said this at the beginning that I thought it was very weird that the helicopter couldn't have maneuvered, because some of this had to be in sight. Now we know that it wasn't air traffic control and that it was, in fact, the problem probably came from the Apache helicopter. Not the Apache helicopter, but the Black Hawk helicopter. And this is where it gets interesting. Roll the clip.
That's fine, it's CRJ.
This club has a aircraft in sight, request visual separation.
Okay, so Pat 25 says, has the aircraft in sight, request visual separation. I don't think they had these guys in sight. I think they had the airplane behind them in sight. That's why this is such a tragedy.
American 4782 by Batten now for visual.
American 472, Oscar Star 1 star 32017.
So you hear somebody in the tower go, oh, and they see what just happened. As you can see in your screen here, the collision took place. The tower has seen it happen in real time. They're human beings. They're reacting just like you and I would. The helicopter ran into the CRJ. The CRJ's airspace was their airspace. In front of them, behind them, on both sides of them, it was the responsibility of the helicopter to maintain visual separation. They even told him a couple times, do you got him in sight? Do you got him in sight? He said, yep, got him in sight. I'm accepting responsibility for the separation. And I think just like when you're driving in a car and you look and you see a car behind the one that almost hit you, you see that car and you didn't see the one right here. And when you turn out in front, sometimes there's a collision. It's really tragic when this happens in an airplane. Again, it's been decades since there's been a mid-air collision in this country. This is such an unusual circumstance to take place. It's such a tragedy. It's been 12 years since there's been a fatality in a commercial airliner here in the United States. That's unprecedented. And that wasn't a mid-air collision. That was just an accident. This is a mid-air collision, and this hasn't happened in forever. So now we know what's going on here. Pat 25, the helicopter, accepted responsibility for visual separation. They probably had their eyes on the airplane behind them, and then they tragically ran into these guys.
Did you see that?
American 472. American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000.
So now what happens from the tower's perspective is they have to work through denial pretty fast. They just saw this happen in real time in front of them. They're human beings like the rest of us. They're kind of in shock. But they've still got airplanes coming in. They've got American Airlines 1630, which just took off. They've got to hand them off to departure. They got American 3130 that's coming in. They got American 472 behind them. They got to do something with these airplanes. Right? The airplane port is going to be shut here in a second. So they're going to start telling all these guys to go around while they're trying to handle the emergency and get the emergency equipment out. And all of that is, everybody's kind of in a little fog for a few seconds here while all of this is taking place. The tragedy of it hits you hard. And they're very professional. Watch how they handle this. But man, they're busy.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
Tower, Boost Streak, 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33.
Second heading for American 3130.
American 3130, go around, turn left in 270, climb maintain 3000.
270 on the heading, 3000.
See how fast he's talking? He's trying to get all these other airplanes out of here.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash.
Okay, what's MWAA? It's the Metro Washington Airport Authority. Every airport has some sort of governing authority over it. Many times it's called the Port Authority. Up in Boston, it's Mass Port, right? In New York, it's the Port Authority. Down here in Washington, it's the Metro Washington Airport Authority. They're now announcing officially there's a crash. So they go over the radio and they broadcast to everybody. The tower is the main recipient of this, that there's been a crash. He's going to repeat that. That puts a whole bunch of things into motion all at the same time. The fire crews now are going to jump in their uniforms. They're going to get in their fire trucks. They're going to drive to where the crash is. There's going to be details about this coming. But this whole thing is very frenzied and happens very fast. But these are really highly trained professionals. They do a really terrific job.
Alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3.
And alert 3 is a crash.
Oh, shit. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approach end of runway 33. Approach end of runway 33. Helicopter crash. Helicopter. Copy out this morning. Crash. This is alert 3. 2 helicopters.
Okay, so again, fog of war. The first report that they get is that it's 2 helicopters. They're going to clarify this really quickly because the tower is talking back and forth, and the tower's going to say, nope.
We could watch along. This guy's doing so well at explaining this, but I don't want to spend the entire live stream. But I think he got to the point. We'll put the link to this video Trent, whenever you can. Put the link to this video in the description section. Therefore, people can go on and watch the full video where he explains, about 20-minute video. And I think he did a really good job of explaining, so we can put these things into context. So NOAA's probably have nothing to do with trends and all this other stuff that people are conjecting into or interjecting into this situation. That's one thing, only criticism I have of Donald Trump is that I just wish that when the stuff happened, can we just leave the DEI stuff out of it just for a minute? Can we just say we want to RIP to the family? Let the pundits and stuff talk about it. But from the White House, you want to leave that stuff alone until we start investigating. Because what you don't want to do is for everybody to go in a frenzy and start talking about DEI and start talking about, the air traffic controllers. And now people are probably sending them death threats and hate mail to the air traffic controllers because they doing all this DEI stuff, which the actual air traffic controllers probably have nothing to do with it. It's these idiots at the top that want to be woker than thou. And whether the pilots are DEI, I mean, none of that matters until you understand what happened. So now that we've seen it, I don't know if this is official, but he had a pretty good articulation of what happened. It seems like whoever was flying the American Airlines regional jet had nothing to do with this. So whether they were DEI, trans, or not, it appears that they had nothing to do with it. Your air traffic control, they're traveling almost at 200 miles per hour. They can't see a Black Hawk. It's stealthy. It's a military helicopter. And air traffic control seems to have it on lock too. Do you have visual? Do you have visuals? And then the helicopter seems to take responsibility that they will avoid colliding into the plane because air traffic control can see what look like it's about to happen. And that Black Hawk can maneuver pretty stealthily, like or rapidly or tactically. It can avoid it at the last minute if it had visual, like the person reported. Now we're left with saying, who was the pilots on the Black Hawk military jet or aircraft with the helicopter? And then we can go down the rabbit hole. Then we can go down and see who was the main who was the one responding, who was the pilot and who was the co-pilot and what was the mission and what was the training. And then you find out, oh, this person was a DEI person, or they hired and they weren't qualified and they had reports that they were saying that this person has crashed a few aircraft or something crazy. Then we can start getting knee deep in the conspiracies. But I want to play one more clip of the new footage that we have, just in case people didn't see the new one. You can see kind of what happened a little closer. You can actually see the helicopter fall down in the water. Viewer discretion is advised. If you got a weak stomach and you don't want to see this crash, I'd say just go away and come back in a few seconds, but we'll show it. It's not going to show any persons or anything. It's just a close-up crash that could be sensitive to certain people. Roll the clip.
By CNN show previously unseen angles of the collision between an American Airlines flight and a US Army Black Hawk helicopter. In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river. In a second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other.
I don't.
After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
Now, play that again, Trent, no sound, just for some B-roll. This is where it gets jiggy to me, is that I can't see how the gentleman explained it very well. I've never been a pilot in a helicopter like this. I've been in a helicopter before, and I also been in an airplane. I've been on a smaller one, a private jet before. I've seen the cockpit and I've seen some of that stuff. But I don't understand how that light on that commercial airline is like looking at the sun. I don't understand how somebody didn't have visual in that helicopter of that airplane, which is coming from miles away. I mean, we could see it for at least 3 or 4 seconds. They had to have seen that airplane. So I can't wait till they investigate. I hope it wasn't somebody who intentionally hit this aircraft. RIP to the family that are involved. I mean, that's horrific. I mean, I fly all the time, and my worst nightmare is crashing in an airplane. But like the gentleman said, and I want you guys to have a little bit of comfort in knowing that this is rare. I mean, there's millions of people flying on an aircraft. There is tens of thousands of aircraft flying every single day. I think it's probably 14,000 of them in the sky as we speak, or at least that travel through the sky. So it's very rare. If you're flying an aircraft, it's more likely you're gonna run into somebody and have a catastrophic event in your car than you would on an airplane. So don't let it work you up too much and cause you to be more afraid than maybe you should be. But I'm gonna end that talk because I don't want to get too deep into the crap about it. I don't like the fact that people are jumping to this DEI stuff. I didn't like it.